I'm very clear in my mind that I have no experience to share with co-sadhaks. Because by experience we mean something which is very special, extraordinary, not what usually happens to all of us. But no such thing has happened to me. When I'm in satsang like this, I say that we are all classmates. I have probably done my homework a little better. You want to look into my notes, I'll share them with you. But, for me it was the need to understand life and death, which means creator and creation, and my place in it. Since you've asked, I might as well tell it properly. I was 35 years old and my elder brother was 37, and we were very close. We learnt our alphabet together, we were so close together. Life was good. We were a small agricultural family. We were growing up well. Father gave us good education and we were very happy. And my brother was a very good person. Then suddenly he was complaining of headache. There was good medical attention at Madras. It turned out they couldn't diagnose it, and it was in 1960. Then they didn't have all the scans and things. They were suspecting cerebral malaria or something else. But before they could come to understand it, it was aneurysm in the brain. He had cerebral hemorrhage, and in front of my eyes he was gone. Just like that. Just one nod of the head, and the two eternities of life and death have shared that moment. It was so overpowering, just too stunning. But and then we all cry, we all have our sorrow, but we get over it. We think we can never forget it, but we forget it in a week, in a month, in a year we forget. In all our lives, what happens? Death turns to anniversaries and placing a few flowers one day in the year. And if we say, I remember you on every anniversary day, you are actually confessing that I forget you the rest of the year. Unless you have forgotten, you can't remember. So what is the value we are giving to this thing we call love, so dear, so close? At that moment, what came to me very clearly was, well, there are going to be some days of crying, but this is not going to be the last sorrow. Others will die, one day I will die, and there will be this grief. So this has to be understood now. We must use this occasion to understand what? What is totality? Is there a meaning to all this? Is there a life? In other words, I am asking, my brother at 37 died suddenly. Can there be some viewpoint from which you can say there is a rightness to this event? According to me, it is totally wrong. It should not have happened. It's something you can't justify it at all. But if there is such a thing called a word expresses a concept called God, and it is your word and your concept, then you say that God is all-knowing, all-loving, all-justice. If you apply those words to a center, from that center, obviously there must be a correctness to this. There can't be a wrongness to it. If there is no wrongness to my brother dying at 37, there is no wrongness to anything that is happening in the world. Which means that which we call God is the governance that runs the whole cosmos absolutely, correctly, rightly, always. So there is no such thing called wrong in the world. All is right with the world. And he that represents that intelligence, that will, that management, that is the one we are calling God. This by my own definition, because I have defined God. God didn't send me a definition. If that is so, then how do I fit this idea into the present situation? How do we accept this? So I want to know what is to be understood by the word God. And if He is the creator, this is His creation, and I am part of the creation. So there has to be a relationship between the creator and me. What would be that relationship? There was the same relationship between him and my brother. Why did he die? Why do I live? Why do things happen the way they happen? The whole question became very important in personalized terms at that moment. And I said that to go on living without understanding this is a life wasted. Whatever else we may achieve, this is all important. So the need to know it, the need to live, there will be sorrow again, there will be suffering again. But today I am suffering helplessly. I am being tyrannized by something which I can't understand, something that's so powerful it can just wipe me off. And that's wiping me off, and I am saying, why are you wiping me off? And I must have an answer, at least that much I should get. So this was a strong urge, and only the good thing that happened to me was that it came so powerfully and it stayed with me, that life is wasted unless we understand this, the relationship between the creator and the created, and how we should balance this equation. This was important. So there at the moment, it was time to cry, it was time to do many things, and everything went on. But fortunately for me, this is what may be called grace, the power that made the event, that put a question into my head, did not let me forget it. It let me live with it and stay with it. So from then I was interested to get the meanings. And I had no traditional background. I did not know a word of Sanskrit. I had good education in English. I had some scientific background. But none of that could answer these questions. So what do I do now? Then someone told me that there is a person by name Chinmayananda. He is giving... I'm talking so much, Swamiji. No, this is all right, but I'm taking so much of your tape and time.
This is really beautiful, exquisitely beautiful. We are all benefited. It's not for somebody else.
So they said Swami Chinmayananda is of your type. He has had education such as yours. He has lived a comfortable life. He has been the smart set. He has been fun-loving and all that. And his mind turned towards the inquiry. So he committed himself to it. He went and stayed in Rishikesh and then in Uttar Kashi with Swami Rakhal Maharaj. And he spent many years. And then he has come down again into the world community, saying that he wants to convey what he has learned to people like himself who may be asking the questions. So he would be the right man for you to talk. And I was very sure that it was not the color of the cloth, it was not the appearance of the person, it was not the historicity of the person. These were not the important. I want someone to talk to me logically, scientifically, as I learned physics or chemistry, as I could learn economics or literature. I want to learn the subject, and it must be presented rationally. So Swamiji was talking in Madras. I live in Chittoor, which is about 200 kilometers away. And he was giving a series of talks in Madras. He was talking about Mandukya Upanishad and some Gita chapter. I was told that those words meant nothing to me. So I went to Madras anyhow. And in the evening in the Agnishala, I was really feeling even shy to go there. Said, if my friends see me, they'll think I've come to the wrong place here. That was the kind of background that this fellow had. So anyhow, I went there quietly and I sat there, and there was a crowd of a couple of thousand people. And just as Swamiji was entering, there were singing Hare Rama, Hare Krishna was being sung. I sat there and there was a great emotional response coming up already in that atmosphere. I sat there quietly, maybe not thinking about God, but thinking about my brother even. There were tears in my eyes. I sat there quietly, and Swamiji came, and it was not the first day, it was maybe the second day or something. So he was into the subject, and he was talking. And mind you, I know nothing, I don't know how to spell G-O-D, and I have gone there to find out. So he was talking, and very soon he was saying, the truth of God is the truth of yourself. That was the statement that came out very soon when we were all listening there. Others had already heard something, it might have meant more to them. But for me, this very gesture of a hand going there and coming here and relating that and this, it had such an impact. It seemed so true. It seemed as though nothing else can be the truth, and it is as simple as that. So I went there to ask, who is God, who is the creator, who is this creature, the created thing? And the answer was coming, the truth of God is the truth of yourself. And the hand was pointing into the chest here, right into the person. So I kept listening. It was going in my head that there is some great truth spoken here. At the moment I have not understood it, but I seem to have understood that there is a truth to be understood if you pursue with it, if you don't give it up now. And if I do this, life will be fulfilled and purposeful. It will gain its meaning. And if I don't do this, whatever else I do, life will be a wasted thing. One day, like my brother, I will also be carried away, and life will be incomplete. So there is everything here, and I also feel that if I could understand the other subjects by studying them for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, surely this is also a subject where I can gain some knowledge. But so far I have not even given 4 hours to it, 4 minutes to it. So there is nothing to despair here. Everything can work out, but one must stay with it. This much I could gain by the evening, and the talk went on for an hour. It was nice, it was very comforting, couldn't understand all of it. But I came back with this resolve. And so this resolve is the keynote of my life. The thing that came, and you can't make it stay. So many things come and go. I don't take particular claim for having been very meritorious in any sense that I stayed with it. It was just, I just loved it. And if you love something, you will stay with it. Nobody can take you away from it. I loved what I had felt. The sense of it was there. So I felt that I must stay with it. But that was exactly the situation when my brother had passed away. My father had a serious heart ailment, and it was doubtful how long he could guide the family. And I was the only elder left at 35, and I had no knowledge of business. Whatever little money we had put into an industry and started it. So this was the situation. So again it came to me quite clearly, don't force anything, don't change anything. Do what you are doing, do what you have to do. Just stay interested. Don't lose this. Let this be your inner life, and let your outer life flow normally. So I moved into back into the routine of things. My brother had 3 children. I had 2 daughters, and later I had a son. So there were all these children to be educated, to be looked after. And I was one who had been given good education, but absolutely had no practical sense of things at all. And we were not rich people, we had enough to live on, and 5 lakhs had been put into the factory to start it. That's all that we could scrape together and put it in. And somehow our future of the family and survival depended upon making this grow. So, but with this sense that there is an ultimate truth, a reality to life, and it is strong, it is secure, it is unchanging, and it is always correct. This sense was enough to support me to go through the rest of the life. I never floundered, I never despaired. I was not always successful, I was not very brilliant, I was not great, but I could work hard, and at the end of the day, have I done what I should do for the day? Then I was peaceful, I was happy. And tomorrow's problems for tomorrow. Let's rest now and get back to it. And this way I lived my life, walked step by step. First 15, 20 years, there was also was a consumer article sales, so it was all legwork. There was no brain work involved, going from shop to shop, or from shopkeeper to shopkeeper, and selling the product, establishing it. Because if you have got a few machines, you switch on, the product comes out. It was quite a simple product. So this happened to be my life. I went on. But fortunately, the inner strength and the real purpose of my life remained intact, and I stayed with it. So outwardly, success came, good results came. People saw in me a reliable person, a trustworthy person, and therefore the relationships improved, therefore the business grew, and all was happening because I was in love with Krishna. It's just that little thing inside, just that little spark there, and the flame is spreading all over the forest. But it took 25 years of hard work to establish the factory and come to a status where we were secure. And meanwhile, this is how my spiritual life started. Then I met Swami Chinmayananda. He saw me and recognized me as an earnest seeker. So he was very kind to me. He gave me affection and proximity. So I had access to him. So then I went and told Swamiji, this is my situation, and I can't be coming around to where you are going and giving lectures. So how do I do? I'm interested. I want to grow into this subject. But what should I do? And Swamiji said, well, you are living in Chittor. It's not a village. I said, no, Swamiji, district headquarters. There are people there who speak English. Yes, Swamiji, it has got a reputation of being a very learned place. There was a good elderly population there, was very learned. There are many people there. Then we will have yajnas there. You organize the yajna. I'll come and stay with you. I suppose you can put me up. I said, yes, Swamiji. I'll stay there. We'll have 10 days or 15 days of talks. You also listen, and the town will benefit. I said, wonderful, Swamiji. That kind of a little organizational work is my life. I can do that. So we had 61, 62, 63, 64. 4 years we had 4 Gita Jnana Yajnas at Chittor, and that was the only occasion I had when I could listen. I would organize the meeting, 1,000, 2,000 people would come. It was very good. The whole town has benefited, and to this day they talk about it. And I would sit there, then I would forget everything. When I came home, there would be a lot of house guests and everybody else, but I won't be hanging around Swamiji and going on trying to be close to him. I would go into the subject and sit by myself. Why I mention it is this kind of earnestness is the real thing that we as sadhaks need. So today we are blessed to be in the presence of Swamiji. All that is available to us, but it's not there every day. And we shouldn't feel deprived just because it is not there. It is not. Next time Swamiji will call you to come. Don't bother about having to come to Swamiji. If our earnestness must be there, our love for the subject and our focus on that destination, we have to arrive. This is an arrival. This should be there. So this feel of this and the knowledge of it is the only speciality I can squeeze out of my life. If you as friends want to share it, what was this earnestness stayed with me. So after 25 years, the company had become, in its field, it had attained to #1 status. So I told my brother's 2 sons, and my son was growing up. My brother's younger son was the right candidate. I sent him abroad. He had good education. I said, if you can now take it up with a professional management, I would like to. So after Swamiji started giving the yajnas, first yajna I heard, maybe 2 years, not sooner, not later. By that time, Bhagavan's Who Am I and Self-Enquiry, just about 30 pages of material somehow came to my hands. When I read that, because I was interested, when I read that, I said, this is the personification of everything that Swami Chinmayananda is telling me. Swami Chinmayananda is my Acharya. Without him, I would not have moved on to this path. He has shown me the way, he has shown me the path. But here is the thing, the object that he is showing. Krishna is this, Vyasa is this, Gita is this. This Ramana Maharshi is the personification. And what are we into this subject for? To arrive at the destination, which means what? That this fool fellow Dwaraknath Reddy should become Ramana Maharshi. Otherwise he has not achieved it, he has not done it. He has. Well, remember, you accept as the perfection, the Guru. That Sthita Prajna is your destiny. It's a pity that you are not arrived there yet. You should have arrived yesterday. So what is strange about arriving there tomorrow? It should happen, it must happen. So we can't defeat ourselves saying, not for me, how many janmas it will take. It's not the proper talk for us. Nor is it boasting to say that we should arrive there. It's a simple truth. So Ramana Maharshi took over my life completely. He was my Krishna, he was my Gita, he was the truth of everything. He was me redefined to myself. Why should he be Ramana Maharshi anymore? I got redefined that this is Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi is an achievable fact. It is not an exaggeration. So this came to me, and from then my focus has been Ramana Maharshi. So thanks to Chinmayananda, I was put on the path. He gave me how he taught an ignorant man like me so fast, so soon, that I could get the right feeling and the right grasp of it. He is a miracle if there is a miracle in our life. But the whole thing was depended on Bhagavan being what he was and is. Bhagavan is Bhagavan, therefore it's possible for all of our minds to stay with it and have no further doubts about it. So this has been my life, and after 25 years the boys said we are ready, we can take over the factory and run it. I said now I'll go to Mangalashram. I got a house here 25 years back, I'm staying here. Fortunately, Mahatmas come here, they keep the fire, fan it and keep it burning.
Mr. Rishigar, now you have kindled our inquisitiveness to a great extent. It's really exquisitely beautiful, the way and the contents, everything was fine. I got one curiosity which has not been satisfied. What is the final end to your quest as to what is the link between the life and death? And how do you say that there is one from whose point of view is everything is correct, the entire world goes correct? What is the solution you got? Could you please explain it in a very small, in a critical manner?
Yes, Swamiji. I as an individual, all of us as individuals, we function intellectually. Intellect has its promise and its possibility, but it is not the ultimate thing. In the way we use our language, we use our words and understand. If you say God is intelligence, then you equate God and intelligence. God is will, God and will. Then the words change. They are not the words which we find in our dictionary. In our dictionary, intelligence is a neural output, a brain factor. It depends on memory. It depends on the consciousness which I have, which again is two different words. There is consciousness with a capital C and there is consciousness with a small c. What we possess is the small c, which to make it more clear can be called reflected consciousness. In that text, that way it agrees with and differs from at the same time from the totality of the absolute. Now God is infinite and we are relative. We are numbers and He is infinity. Now infinity is again a thought and a word and a concept of the intelligent mind. The number-oriented mind has projected its understanding of numbers to the level where it is talking of infinity. But infinity, as even Einstein has to agree, any scientist will say, infinity is not a number. Even if you say it is the greatest number, then you must arrive there by adding numbers. Even that is not correct. It is greater than the greatest number, and that is language breaking down. We understand this. Now we moved into the subject with a question, with a reasoning, with all the training that we had academically. The same strengths which we had, we took into the subject of spirituality. So we looked at God with that. Now, I could understand that there must be a totality which contains the partiality, the broken thing. So the individualities must all merge into a totality, but the addition of everything is not equal to the total, just as the addition of numbers will not give you infinity. You can take the largest list of the biggest numbers and add them up on your computer. You can't get infinity. Plus one, your logic is broken already. So infinity is out of numbers but beyond numbers. So here also there is this God concept presented to the mind, and we could see it that way, because this mind is seeing infinity. It can also see the absolute. But absolute is not attainable in terms of relativity. This we can understand. So this intellectual understanding came to me, comes to all of us. It is nothing great in that, it comes to us, it was that. But then how did I know that Ramana Maharshi was the perfect one? It is just this individual's feeling. It has no rationale beyond his way of looking at it. How do I know that Einstein is a very great scientist? Do I know 1/100th, 1,000th of what Einstein knows about physics? But I agree with everybody, and I will also chant that Einstein is one of the greatest scientists of the world. Newton is one of the greatest scientists. Stephen Hawking is one of the greatest. We agree. Ramanujam, a great mathematician. We agree with that. But it is not because we equate with it. It is a projection. So the mind always works on its rationale and its projections. And therefore, my understanding, I tried to understand what Gita was talking about in Sthita Prajna, what Tattvamasi can possibly mean, what Aham Brahmasmi, how can it be? If you say that the water in your hand, salt water in your hand is the whole ocean, there is an agreement and there is a difference. If you lick it, the saltiness is common to the sea, but a dimension is not there. So there are qualitative, quantitative limitations to the individuality which are not there to the absolute. This the mind can understand and put into words like this. So with this understanding, if this understanding only, the sadhaka, as long as he is a sadhaka, he is an individual, he is an ego-centered person. But he stays on the path. A time will come when the ego that is seeking God exceeds itself and ceases to be the ego, and at the same time doesn't lose existence or identity and becomes a God, becomes God. The transformation takes place immediately. There is no void there between the two. Thus I have stayed, and this has been my purpose. So where am I today? I have a good understanding of what life can mean and what death can mean. In fact, death was never born, life never died. This is the understanding. That is the whole truth. The whole truth
was the embodiment of that.
Pardon?
And Bhagavan was the embodiment of that truth.
Embodiment of that truth. In fact, we are also the embodiment of that truth. But we do not know it. And he knew it. So all we have to do is know ourselves. We don't have to become something which we are not. We have to know ourselves as what we are. So it is really as simple as that. Ati Sulabham, as Bhagavan says. But it is the most difficult thing also to achieve. Thus, the faith in Bhagavan can be justified in terms of a mental process, and an intellectualizing mind can justify its belief in God and its faith in God. Faith is based on this, and it is justified. It is properly understood, and it is accepted. So that way, and so where am I today? I am with a good knowledge base, but without the experience. And what am I trying to do? Move from knowledge into experience. How do I do it? By quietening the knowledge, by stilling it, by not opening my mouth for 1 hour like this. How else to do it? So, Swamiji, have I partly answered?
I'm really grateful because I've had years of friendship with Mr. Reddy. I value it, I'm proud of it. But such an occasion as today had never arisen, where we had a heart-to-heart talk about the Lord. It is really wonderful what he taught. It agrees with the entire scriptures which I have ever read. I'm really grateful to him.
You put me in jail and you said, glad you stayed here.